Hello, welcome in. It's Day Oyabumi. I hope you are well today. I am so excited because if you're watching this means that you have invested in the Intuitive Tarot Guide, and this is the bonus video. Welcome in. First and foremost, thank you so much for trusting me enough to provide you with this information. I don't take this lightly. Right? I've done a lot of work over the years gathering this information, right? Learning it myself so that I can be a good reader. And now to be able to turn around and present this as a teaching tool is a gift to me. And I hope that it is a gift to you. Okay? So welcome in. This is going to be a nice conversation about tarot and intuition. And I want you to feel free to absolutely add any comments and questions to the comment section below, okay? We can use that area to keep in touch and to, just really go back and forth and help each other learn and grow. Okay, I don't want to be the only one answering questions. Everyone feel free to chime in and help each other, okay? Great. So, as you saw in the Intuitive Tarot Guide, I am self-taught. I come from a long line of Christians, right? My family is a Christian family, both sides, my mom and my dad's side. And funny enough, my mom and my dad never really got into it, so I think that's what gave me the confidence to kind of branch out and try something different. But I remember having a moment in my life when I started to feel like I needed to move away from a spiritual practice, from the religion I was following, and that was Christianity at the time. I was having some weird dreams, some really interesting experiences, and I said, you know what? Something is pulling me in a new direction. So there was like this domino effect. And I met a couple of men who were really instrumental in my seeing my own intuitive abilities and instrumental in me having the confidence to move away from, Christianity. So one day somebody was like, Day, you're really sharp. You're really intuitive. I think tarot would help you to really open up your intuition. And so I decided to go forward and purchase my first deck, which is the Rider-Waite deck, which I have right here wrapped in my little bow. So this is my first deck that I purchased, and it's been an awesome experience. It was a little frightening because I had been taught that, divination was wicked, and it was of the devil. And I had to get over that hump. But now that I am a reader, right, an intuitive diviner, I feel so comfortable, and I honestly feel like this is my birthright. And this is your birthright. It is your birthright to tune into your intuition, to use tools to do so, right? Throughout antiquity, the indigenous cultures of, different places throughout the world all used tools for divination. It was one of the ways that we connected to our divine selves. And so you are doing what you are meant to do by picking up some cards, by picking up a pendulum, whatever you use, that is your tool to connect with your divine self. Okay? So, one of the ways that I encourage you to use tarot, any divination tool, is for self-mastery and self-discovery. When I first started using the cards, I got one card so much that it is jacked up now. Let me see if I can find it quickly. This card is all bent up because I was getting it so much. And I was getting it so much because I needed to learn how to personify this energy in my life. Here it is. You see this thing? Look at it. All bent up. Look at that. I got the Temperance card so much because Man, I was so energetically out of whack, right? And so this became a totem for me. I would hold up this energy and I would aspire to be moderate and balanced, right? I studied this card and tried my best to be what it personifies. So you'll find as you get your first deck and you start to really play around with it a lot, you might have a particular card that follows you around. Take that as a sign that that's the energy you want to embody, okay? So really do your research, feel it out intuitively, and see what it means for you. Now, there is a warning that I want to give you. When you begin to get into divination, there's something that can happen. You can become dependent on it, right? And instead of using your logic and discernment to make choices, now you'll kind of depend on your divination tools to make the choices. Like some of you might actually be afraid to make choices without your cards, without, different tools after getting really comfortable with this. And I want you to be careful with that. There needs to be a balance. There have been times where my divination has been incorrect, right? I've checked cards and got information that hasn't been helpful. I've gone to other diviners and have found that their information wasn't helpful to me or was just plain wrong, right? So we have to be careful. You don't want to get to a point where you're so dependent on your tools that you can't make a move without them. So always remember to be balanced, okay? Okay, so now let's get into how to prep our cards for use. So I want you to develop a ritual. Every time you go to pick up your cards for use, I want you to develop a ritual, a sacred ritual, something that you can do to set the stage, set the tone for your readings, whether you're picking a card just for journaling, right, as part of your learning the cards. If you're picking a card to give you clues about what you can expect for the day, the week. If you're reading someone else, I want you to just know you have this ritual set aside to prep your space and your energy. So the first thing you want to do is determine how you'll clean or cleanse your decks. So there's different ways that we can do that, right? But I always am going to encourage you to use your intuition. This is a very intuitive practice from the beginning to the end. So as you're developing these rituals, use your intuition to do so. So I have a couple of ways that I cleanse decks. Sometimes, not sometimes, anytime I'm reading, I have a cup of water, of fresh water next to me. I'll pray into the water and I'll ask the water to support the cleansing and clearing of my deck of any residual energies from past readings. And then I dip my fingers in the water and I tap the cards, whatever cards I'm using. That's one way, right? I bless my water. Another way is I have this beautiful little singing bowl that I got from my cousin. And when I want to energetically cleanse my decks, I'll say, I'm energetically cleansing my decks. And hold the singing bowl over the decks, okay? Singing bowls are awesome for resetting energy, for clearing a space. The tones are awesome for that. Other things you can do, you can use sage, Palo Santo, different types of incense, whatever you feel like works for you, okay, or works best for you. But really identify what that is. So whenever you're taking up your decks, to do any type of reading, I want you to have this ritual in place, right? Part of this ritual should include some type of opening prayer and a closing prayer. So say I sit down to do my reading. I have my singing bowl, I have my water, I have my decks. I greet my own consciousness because that's where I'm getting a lot of this information from, my benevolent and honorable guides, right? I greet my decks. Oh, hi, deck. Thank you. Thank you so much. And then I'll go into an opening prayer. An example of an opening prayer is, greetings to my high consciousness, that divine part of myself that supports me in channeling clear and accurate messages. Greetings to the benevolent and honorable guides who are supporting my readings today. I greet you with love, with gratitude, and with honor. Thank you so much. I ask that I will channel clear and accurate messages and guidance for myself or for my client, right? I ask that any disruptive, tricky energies, any, negative entities that may be lurking around, that may want to insert their opinions, would be blocked. I ask that my energy would be shielded and shrouded from negativity, from disruption, from anything that may cause me to receive the wrong information. I ask that I would be shielded very well and guided so that I may provide the best guidance possible. Ashe, right? Now, this is your prayer. Put whatever in it that you want. If you have a particular deity that you work with that you want to call on, do so. I know people who call on Jesus Christ, the Holy Spirit, to help them channel, and ask for protection. So some of the pieces it should have is an offering of gratitude, a calling on your own high consciousness, which in Yoruba tradition we call Ori, calling on your benevolent and honorable guides, asking for protection from, tricky, malevolent, negative energies that might try to come in and insert their messages, right? And then some type of close, if you say amen, ashe, something like that, right? But this again is intuitive, and it should be a prayer that you feel in your heart. I suggest jotting some things down as your opening prayer, your closing prayer. You can say, thank you so much for allowing me to channel guidance today. I thank my consciousness. I thank my guides, my water, my decks. Thank you so much. I am now closing this channel, and I will no longer be channeling messages or receiving messages at this time. When I do my opening, I hit the sound, the bowl. And when I do my closing, after I say I am now closing this channel, I also hit my bowl. So if you have a little bell, that might be good to kind of signify the opening and closing of your ritual practice, right? Of your reading. It's like you have your beginning and you have your end rituals, and that establishes in your own consciousness and for your guides, okay, this is when I'm starting my reading. Please come in and help me do so. This is when I'm closing it, and I don't want to read no more, okay? So make sure you insert your own personal views and beliefs and just any ideas that come to you for your opening and closing prayers. So another thing that I want to suggest is that you have a designated area that you set aside for your readings, right? So I am sitting at my workspace area. This is where I record videos for YouTube. This is where I do my writing, my video editing, everything. This is also where I do my readings. When I sit down, I'll take out this cloth I have here. I'll wipe down my desk, make sure it's not dusty or filthy. I told you I'll sip my water nearby, right? And this is my space where I have my cards, everything kind of laid out. It is one of the most comfortable spaces in my home, and it just feels the best. I've done reading in other areas of my house, and this is the most comfortable for me. I also have my crystals nearby, like my whole crystal family is literally like a stone's throw away from me. So this is my area. Pick an area in your house where you feel comfortable, that you're keeping clean, and make sure you have your tools nearby and use that area for your divination. I feel like having a particular area is really helpful in this practice as well. So before we get into working with the cards, right, where I'm going to put the camera on the cards directly, I want to encourage you to be patient with this process. This is not an overnight thing. You know, it took me years to get to the point where I felt confident and comfortable enough to truly read for myself, right, and believe what I was getting and read for others. But just know that mastery takes time. There's no rush. You don't have to rush this process, and honestly, you shouldn't. You know, really take your time with this. One of the things I want to suggest is that you really incorporate journaling into your learning process. I'd say, you know, once a day if you can, you know, either at the beginning of the day, the end of the day, whenever you have time, pick a card, right? Go through, and this, you don't have to do your whole ritual for this, right? Because this is still part of your learning. If you want to, that's cool. You know, you choose a card and just write about it. Write what feelings it elicits. You know, write what you see. Write what certain colors make you think of. You know, it's just write whatever comes to mind. Write how this could really be speaking to a moment in your life. Write about this character. Write a story about this character, right? So really use your journaling, your writing to connect with each card, because you're going to find that the cards will speak to you in a way that they may not speak to other people. You'll see something in cards that others don't see because of your personal and individual perspective, right? So I say go through and do that with each card, you know, and sometimes what you can do instead of shuffling is just go through each card individually, you know. It's 78 cards in the deck. Go through all 78 and journal about them. Really study them. Study the images, the colors, like I said, what's happening in the cards and things like that. Journaling is key. I still do that to this day. One of the new practices I've picked up is to look at the cards in different ways. One of the practices I've picked up is to really look for different things in the cards, like things that I hadn't noticed before, or try to read the cards in a way that's different than I normally would, right? Like normally when I see this card, I would say, you know, it's a pretty sad card. I get a sad feeling from it. But today I'm seeing this as an elder. Maybe that's an elder. And the elder is leaving, like there's a moving on from this life. There's a transitioning happening. I've never seen the Eight of Cups like that, but I could see this as an actual passing away of an elder. You know, they came, they saw, and they conquered, right? They came to the earth, they did what they needed to do, and now they're moving forward, transitioning to another state of being, right? So trying to see the cards in ways that they're not always depicted. Because the Eight of Cups is usually depicted as a walking away from something, a going in search of emotional fulfillment or something that's missing. I've never heard anyone say, oh, the Eight of Cups means that an elder is transitioning. You know, so trying to see things in a new way and open up my view of the cards so I don't get stuck, you know, and allowing my view to evolve. So that's one of the things I want to encourage you to do as well. Remember, mastery takes time. Don't rush this process. Sometimes you'll feel aggravated because you'll say, what the hell does this mean? What does this card combination mean? And it's okay. It is absolutely okay. All right? When you're learning, just see the entire process as the learning process, and it doesn't have to be perfect. And it can be aggravating sometimes, and that's fine. All right, so now let's jump into working with the cards, okay? All right, see you soon. Okay, here we are. We're going to do some card play. So as you see, I have my original Rider-Waite deck here. This is the deck I started with. And I suggest getting comfortable with this deck. Even if you don't want to start with it, I suggest getting comfortable with it because most decks are based on the Rider-Waite format, okay? So a lot of them are going to have similar imagery. There may be a few variations, but a lot of them will have similar imagery, okay? So it's just good to start with the Rider-Waite. Like, for instance, the Modern Witch Tarot is a very popular play on the original Rider-Waite. So it has a lot of similar imagery, right? But it'll just be a little bit of a variation between cards. So let's look at one of the Rider-Waite and one of the Modern Witch cards, just so you get an idea of what I'm describing. Okay, so here is the Rider-Waite, the original, right? And this is the Modern Witch. Once you become familiar with the Rider-Waite imagery, it makes it so much easier to understand what the other variations are saying, okay? So it's like once you know this original format, it makes it so much easier to read the other ones that are based on the Rider-Waite. You see the similarities here. The artist made sure they incorporated some of the same things, the tethering of the human beings, the huge demonic figure here, the fire, right? Some of the same stances, except for they're turned the other way. It's just very helpful to know the Rider-Waite format to get you prepared to do your readings, because so many cards are based on that original format. Okay, so now let's look at different ways of shuffling. There are two ways that I use, right? There are the original ways of shuffling, you know, something like this, like we would do with playing cards. This can be a little bit much on your deck. That can be a little taxing on your deck, so some people avoid shuffling like that, right? Because if you're trying to maintain your deck, then bending and doing this can really cause some damage over time. Another way that people shuffle is like this. And I notice a lot of readers shuffle similar to this and allow cards to kind of fly out of the deck and take those cards as, you know, cards for the reading, right? So something like that. So just go with your gut again. Remember, this is an intuitive process. So whichever way you prefer is really going to be the way you should go with, you know? So something like that. I've seen people do either this type of shuffling, right? This type of shuffling. And then after doing that, you know, maybe split the deck and then take those cards that are on top. All right? So there's different ways of shuffling. You're going to go with your own gut, your own intuition. There's no right or wrong way to shuffle. Now, I did talk about in the guide reading reversals, right? So this is a card that's upright, and this would be a reversal. This would be a reversal. Everyone has a different way of reading reversals. Some readers don't read them at all. I actually am one of the readers that does not read reversals. I make sure that all of my cards are in the upright position before I do readings. I personally don't read reversals because I feel like I'll get the message that I'm meant to get regardless. You know, whether the cards are upright or in the reverse, I feel like I'll receive the messages I'm meant to receive. And I'll be able to communicate the messages I am meant to communicate, okay? Again, I'm always going to point you back to your own intuition. I've given you some examples in the guide of how people view reversals, right? Sometimes people see it as the energy of the card being weakened or reversed. So again, this is going to be on you. Use your discernment and your intuition about how you would like to deal with reversals. Okay, so let's look at a quick connect example. In the intuitive tarot guide, I was discussing one of the practices I've used to really get to understand reading combinations of cards, and I call that the quick connect example. What I like about quick connect is it doesn't allow you to overthink things. With the quick connect, you get right in, you intuit what the connection is saying, and you get out. So let's do a couple of examples here. And normally I would be journaling, right? So I would pick the cards and I would write whatever comes to mind really quickly without overthinking it. In this case, I'm going to talk you through it. Oh, we got that Page of Cups again. And the Strength card flipped. Okay. So let's do that. So there are a couple of different ways I do quick connect. One is I would identify any connections I see in the card, anything that stands out to me as similarities. And then there's also me just like identifying what's standing out to me about the two cards together really quickly. So in both cards, I immediately see there's a focus on an animal, and in both cards, I immediately see that there's a focus on animals. So on this one, there's a focus on a fish, and this one is a focus on the lion. So there's something about focusing, right? Paying attention to something, maybe even studying something or figuring out how to work with something. Typically with the Strength card, that can refer to working with your own energy. Something I'm realizing too when I see these two cards together is something about emotion that's coming up for me. Water is related to emotion. But also when we have the lion here, there may be a need to temper and moderate one's passions. That's coming out to me with the quick connect. Another message that I'm seeing with these two cards side by side is maybe the need to be careful of immature actions and decisions, maybe even immature emotional actions. I say that because the page is always thought of as like a younger, more immature energy. And we see with the Strength card, there's like this gentle control, right? This figure is controlling the lion, is working to control, do something to the lion. So perhaps there's a need to control some emotional impulses. The Page of Cups, this could be a mother and a child, and the mother is trying to teach the child how to behave in ways that are, more mature, balanced. Maybe the mother is trying to stop the child from making bad decisions and choices, but also just trying to teach them lessons about life and how to behave, socially acceptable behaviors. With this quick connect, I'm also seeing that both figures are standing still. There's no movement. So that's something I would write in my journal. The fact that there's a stillness and a focus, right? In both cards, a stillness and a focus on something in particular. Water and land. So I would consider that like emotion and logic. Perhaps the need to balance the two. So that's one example of quick connect. Let's do a couple more. So now we have the Queen of Pentacles. and the Seven of Cups. Funny enough, I'm seeing the same thing again with this focus, right? In this card, the Queen is focusing on her coin. In this card, this figure, this dark shadowy figure, is actually focusing on cups. So again, there's a focus or a study of something. One of the things that's coming up for me with this quick connect example is that I feel like this woman and her wealth, she's gained her wealth as a result of going through this process of discernment. So the Seven of Cups is about choices. We see these different choices, options here. This person has to discern, right, which ones are the best for him or her. And then the Queen of Pentacles shows someone who has really reached like the height of their wealth and influence, right? A resourceful, wealthy person who's built up her queendom. I feel like that, right, this wealth that this person has gathered has come from making right choices, right decisions. With the bunny rabbit here, that represents fertility, movement forward, growth. And this is showing me that there are many options that can lead to growth, but we have to be very careful about which ones we choose. This one, you see how this person, you have the clouds here. I see head in the clouds. This person may be daydreaming. Another quick connect I'm seeing is that they may not be making choices, not even choices. Their head isn't, this person's head is in the clouds. And instead of doing the work, the actual work to build tangible wealth, they may not be able to do that because they're so stuck on fantasy, right? As opposed to doing the work to make something happen. I also can see this as a warning of being very careful about the choices you make in order to get to this point, right? In order to get to a point where you have your wealth. So you see what I'm doing, y'all. It's literally just me looking at the images and taking stories from those images and putting the stories together. And I would write this down. And the thing with Quick Connect or just reading in general is to trust your intuition, trust that gut feeling, trust the first story that comes to you, the first message that comes to you. We got another 7. Oh, 2 7s here. So my Quick Connect here, I'm already seeing the 7 of Swords can represent someone doing something in underhanded ways and underhanded behavior, stealing, theft. And the 7 of Coins, this person has, has grown their crops and is waiting to kind of harvest the crops. With these 2 cards, I see a need to be careful of what one has grown and built up because someone may try to take it away. Someone may try to steal it. You have one person moving away, right, from this person, again, which could indicate taking something from this person or doing something underhanded to this person, right, and moving away from them. The look on the person's face kind of shows like a hint of dissatisfaction, maybe impatience, maybe tired of waiting. With this Quick Connect, I'm seeing that impatience could actually lead to some type of loss, making a decision or a choice that could sabotage one's wealth, right? So it's just like these quick observations. That's what we're doing. We have tents in the back as if like this is a circus. There could be someone playing games. Say these are 2 people. This person is playing games with this person or is trying to play games with them or their money or what they've built up. 7s can represent spirituality and looking within. So this might indicate Someone having to be very careful of self-sabotaging ways. Okay, let's do one more. Quick connect, we have the 9 of Wands and the 10 of Wands. So the wands represent passion, movement, fire. The 10 can represent burden, carrying a heavy load, but being at the end of that burden, because we're at the 10, the 9. This is the wounded warrior card. This person has been through some shit and they don't want to go through it again. With quick connect, what I see immediately is there is someone who is very has an aversion to carrying other people's loads or carrying too much of a burden. Maybe they've overextended themselves before. Maybe they've done too much before, done too much for others, worked too hard, and it's really left them in a position previously where they, suffered because of it, as we can see with the bandage on the head. And so now this person never wants to do that again. They're on the defensive. They're on the defensive because they don't want to be this again, right? Like they're saying, no, I won't do this anymore. There's a protective element here that I'm seeing as well. This person is protecting themselves from carrying too heavy a burden. This person could actually be protecting this person as well, right? Guarding this person as they carry this heavy load. This could be a spirit guide, an ancestor, someone who's been through this, right, in a previous life or something, is helping this person, guarding this person as they carry this load. You always kind of want to look at the directions people are going in, if they're standing still, if they're moving. There's a stillness here and a movement here, right? So maybe there's a need for balance between a stillness and a movement. Maybe this is guidance that you need to guard or protect yourself against, I guess reliving the same hardship over and over again. But also acknowledging that this heavy burden, as soon as you get to this house in the distance, you get to lay your burden down. So there's the end of a burden coming. So it's these quick observations. What is your quick observation of these cards? Okay, so that was our quick connect example. Feel free to use that practice. If it doesn't resonate or you don't like it, come up with your own practices, okay? Now let's look at yes or no questions. So the Wheel of Fortune is typically referred to as an affirmative card, right? A good card. So this could be a yes, right? That could represent a yes. The Two of Swords can represent an uncertainty. You see how there's no movement. There's a blindfold. This could be a maybe, right? Or this could indicate that there hasn't been a decision made yet, or that something's going to change. This is considered, the Tower is considered a negative card, so that could mean no. If you're moving into a new house, will this new house make me and my family happy? And you choose the Tower, that's probably a no. Will this new house make me and my family happy? And you get the Ten of Pentacles, chances are that's a yes, right? It shows like a happy family life, happy legacy. And honestly, if you get this, it could be a mixed bag. You see the sword is pointing this way and this way. It could be a little bit of this and a little bit of that. So there's that way of reading yes and no too. This would be yes because it's a positive card. This would be no because it's a negative card. And something like that, a stillness, could be a maybe. This would be a no. Five of Swords is a card of fight. That would be a no. The Devil would be a no. The Ten of Cups could be a yes, right? So the Sun could be a yes. The Fool could be another maybe, right? It could go either way. But you have to decide what your process is, right? At this point, my process is to just read the situation. and get a sense of what the outcome is going to be, right? So I'll just do the first thing I did, which is just pull out a couple of cards and read it that way. But for yes or no, you can take an affirmative as yes, a negative as no, and then certain cards would kind of be in the middle depending on how they feel for you, okay? All right, so now let's do a little something with clarifying. So I'm going to pick a card and just come up with a scenario, okay, of what I could be reading a client or myself for. Okay. The Three of Wands here. The Three of Wands could represent someone who is waiting for their ships to come in, waiting for a return on an investment, or this could be someone who's thinking about traveling, right, and really kind of like focused on developing, well, not developing, but getting an idea of where they want to go. It's really based on intuition. But now say I'm reading something and I get this Three of Wands and I'm not sure what it means. And I pick this clarifying card. So this is my clarifier, the Knight of Cups. We see the Knight of Cups has his cup. He's on the move. He's going somewhere. He looks determined to share this cup. Cups can represent emotion, love, things like that. Sharing of emotion. So what I'm going to say is this Three of Wands now with this Knight of Cups, I'm going to say that this figure in this card, this figure here represents a person who is thinking about making a love offer. And this love offer could be to someone at a distance. This love offer could be to someone in their past. And they're really considering moving forward with some type of offer to this person. And they decide to go ahead and do that with this Knight of Cups, right? But this person is overthinking it. They're sitting in consideration of it. And they'll eventually make the decision, but it'll take a while. So let's look at something, again, with the house situation. If someone said, I'm interested in buying a house, and they get, they want to know how it's going to go, and they get the Queen of Swords. The Queen of Swords could be about, an air sign, right? An air sign woman. But the Queen of Swords could also just indicate like the need for clarity, like knowing exactly what one wants and what their vision is for the future. So say that's not enough. I want to know if it's going to be a good outcome for this house, and I got the Queen of Swords, but I'm not happy with that. And then I get the 10 of Pentacles. In a previous pull, we saw that the 10 of Pentacles is really good, a good card when it comes to home life, right, and happy life. So the clarifier is indicating, yes, this is a good house to buy. It's going to bring happiness to the family. It might actually bring happiness to multiple generations in the family. And there's wealth attached to the house, right? The Queen of Swords could mean the need to just be very clear about what you're walking into, very clear about one's finances, making sure all the paperwork is good, crossing your T's, dotting your I's, just clarity and focus, right? But making sure all your ducks are in a row, doing what you need to do, being clear about your vision going into this situation and how the outcome will be pleasurable or favorable for you, okay? So that's what we mean by clarifiers. Take your time with this. Initially, it may be a little confusing, but what helps is just seeing the stories that the cards are telling, right? So that's how we go beyond memorization. We know that we have these lists, right, of meanings for each card. I can tell you what the Queen of Swords typically represents. I can tell you what the 10 of Coins or Pentacles typically represents. But when you're reading, your intuition is going to interject, stories. It's going to tell you like, okay, this is what it typically means, but we're going to add this to it. We're going to sprinkle in a dash of this and that. because that's your intuition telling you how these cards are presenting to you. You know, what story they're presenting to you. And that's why we need to also talk about using intuition, right? So we are all going to start our tarot journeys by memorizing, right? Getting a sense of, well, most of us, gaining a sense of what each card means. But the key is to go beyond this, to go to our intuition and allow our intuition to tell us what the cards mean. So the Four of Cups can represent dissatisfaction, lack of gratitude, being unhappy with the options presented to you, just somebody who's over it. Like they are just not happy with what has been presented to them. But I read this recently for a client and saw that this represented a young person who was very unhappy with maybe like a punishment or something that was being given, or one parent or one person was saying, no, you can't do this. And they were really upset, right? The young person was really upset. That's not typically what the card states, but that is my intuition, right? When I see this person ignoring this cup and looking at these other cups, there's like, intuitively, it's kind of like either the person can't even see what's being offered, right? Or they're so focused on what they already have that they really don't have the space for anything new, right? Or they're just over whatever's being offered. But it's like looking at things intuitively, and that's what the High Priestess represents. It's the intuitive interpretations of the cards, not just what they mean when it comes to memorization and memorizing what they mean. Like for the Nine of Wands, this could be someone who is so defensive that they're sabotaging themselves. They've built up this wall behind them. No one can get past. No one, no thing. They may be so fearful of being hurt again that they can't function in life. This person is not moving forward. They're on the lookout for what bad thing is going to happen. This could be someone that just believes horrible things are going to happen to them, One of the cards that I like to use as an example of an intuitive way that I read it is the Temperance card. And I say that because there's been times where I've seen the Temperance card and it's in certain readings, I'll see that the person is drinking too much and they need to lay off the drinking, right? Like the drinking of alcohol is destroying their body, destroying their life, and they have an addiction and they need to really fight that addiction and slow down, be more moderate. That's a personal interpretation based on my intuition, right? How it's come out sometimes. The Three of Cups can represent, partying, having fun with friends, a reunion between friends. But I also sometimes see that as going out and drinking, going to a bar, going out for drinks. And with the Temperance next to it, I would say, oh, you should be careful. Don't overdo it when you're drinking. This is a good card to keep coming out. The Ten of Pentacles. Happy family, legacy, wealth, and things like that. I could intuitively see this elder here may not even be an elder who is in the physical. This could be an ancestor. Maybe this family has an ancestor altar set up and the ancestor that welcomes the ancestors into this space, right? So it's about intuitive interpretations, not just what it typically means. This could be a young person going off to college, moving out for the first time, going to the military, just going away from home for the first time, right? Typically, the Fool means a new beginning, a new start, a leap of faith. It doesn't typically mean a young person going out on their own, but that's what this could represent in a particular reading, right? So be very open to your intuitive interpretations of cards because they mean so much. So that's it for our card play. I think I've covered everything I wanted to cover in terms of that. One of the other things I wanted to say was, sometimes when people are shuffling, right? Say they're asking a question and a particular card falls out, but they don't understand the card. When you're learning, right, I do suggest if you're having such a hard time that you can't understand it, people typically say, don't put the card back in the deck. I'm going to say, just say a quick prayer. Hey, to your consciousness, I can't understand what this means in reference to this question. I'm sorry. Can you show me again more clearly, right? Can you show me more clearly what the answer is, and then choose again? What I will warn against is putting cards back because you don't like the answer. Then you're not, you're kind of playing around with the energy and not taking it seriously. So avoid doing that. Okay? And lastly, I want to encourage you to always look at what's happening in the cards, In a card like this, you see this person is not moving. They are bound. They are stagnant and still. And the swords usually represent thoughts or communication. This can be someone who's really trapped themselves in their own thoughts, has maybe spoken themselves into a bad situation. Maybe they said things that put them in a bad situation or put them in bondage. Pay attention to what you're seeing. Pay attention to the directions the figures are going in. Are they standing still? Are they on horses? Horses typically represent freedom, right? And movement. The death card represents endings. It's not always a physical death. It could be just like the transition, moving away from one state of being to the next, right? But really just paying attention. And you see how in the background the sun is rising between these two pillars. So there's an ending, certainly with the death card, but you're being encouraged to know that the sun will rise again, right? Always pay attention to what's happening. This person or this angel is mixing these two cups. What does that mean to you? This angel has one foot on land and the other in water. What does that mean to you? And in the distance, you have this path that leads to this crown of victory, right? To enlightenment with the mountains here. Always look at what's happening and what the images say to you. We have movement on a horse with the Knight of Wands. Could be moving quickly towards a passion. The salamanders can represent, on his frock, can represent transformation. Quick movement towards transformation or a transformative journey. So this is one of the ways that I read intuitively the aces. With this hand coming out of the clouds, I see this as a gift from the divine. This could be like the divine is sending you some type of financial reward, financial abundance. The divine, the God source is putting you on to something, getting you this job or getting someone interested in one of your services or offerings. Everyone doesn't read that way, right? Now look at how this hand is pointed this way and we have this figure going towards the hand. It could be this transformative journey is taking this person towards a new start financially, okay? Because aces are about fresh starts. So be mindful of things like that. I want you to get comfortable with reading the images, paying attention to these different things. I am so grateful that you've allowed me to share in this journey with you, this journey of you reclaiming your divine birthright to tune into and tap into your intuition. I hope this has been helpful. Remember to put your comments and questions in the comment section below, and let's just have a discussion about these things. I know that even if this is scary or aggravating, I believe that you will eventually become a confident reader of your own situations, and you'll be able to help others if you so choose. Thank you so much again. Take care. Ashe.